I can imagine with something like that, delving into your own psyche and then trying to analyze your own dreams, that can be very confronting in a way. So
Yeah.
what's this process of making this album? Was that confronting for you? Did you kind of discover things about yourself?
Yeah, well, but it's not specific about this album. I think that's what you always do, I guess. I think um, writing music and writing albums is my way of therapy.
Mm.
That's trying to get the stuff out there that's within you, and in my case, it's the darkness that needs to come out, I guess, and it works out. I think in normal life I'm not that dark a person, but of course this is a very psychological topic, so that's you can't make an album like that about love or about fear without being confronting yourself and being honest, I guess.
And I find that very interesting because I think as well you don't seem a very dark person to me, but do you know why you gravitate towards those topics in your music and in your interests?
No, I don't know, but it's obvious that I do. After 10 years now, that's pretty obvious to me that the darkness inspires me more than the sunshine, but why that is, I have no idea. Maybe a few generations back, I don't know where I derive from, so I don't know, maybe something to do with that.
Fair enough. Well, because it is interesting, and because I might have even asked this the previous interview, but could you see yourself writing a very happy song or a very... Because even the last track is very optimistic sounding, but you know what I mean, kind of...
Yeah, but even that song is in a way ironic, so
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know, probably not. I really would have to try, and then I don't know, maybe not, but yeah, it's a good question, I guess. But in the end, I'd still consider myself like in a way an optimist. But maybe that's just because I have music.
Because, like you say, it is part of in a way, therapy for you. So
Yeah.
do you, after making an album like this, which I can imagine can be quite stressful, a lot of work, what is the feeling then once you kind of once it is done? Is that kind of a load off your shoulders, or are you sad that it's over?
It's both. Well, because first of all, it's a great line of work. It's a lot of fun to create music, and it's a privilege that I can do it. But so I really enjoyed to live in this world for that amount of time, and then I have to go out there. But the moment that I'm finished and I have to show this to people, that's also, of course, a very anxious moment and a lot of fear, because the songwriting process is really like a solitary one for me. I'm doing it all on my own, and I get the feedback very late because I want it very late. Actually, too late, because at the point that I get feedback, I'm done and I don't want to change it anymore. So that's kind of pointless. Yeah, but I think the load off my shoulder is when the album comes out. So because in between I'm finished and the release, it's still really, I don't know what's gonna happen, and then there's really nothing anymore I can do about it. Once it's out, it's out.
So now there's still a couple of days of limbo left for you.
That's true, yes.
So I want to get into the album a little bit more specifically, because there are several issues or several types of fears that you kind of delve into. And one that is very interesting, I think, socioculturally, is the idea of martyrs and what that means to us, and especially from a religious perspective as well. So what was the starting point for this topic for you?
I think the starting point was in my childhood, because my father plays the organ in the church. And when I was a little kid, I always went with him to the church, and so I could sit up there with him on the organ, and I had a different perspective on the church. And there were these pictures of saints, martyrs. It was just normal pictures. They were standing there and had like tools or weapons, And I always wondered why they have these weapons and tools, and I always asked about it. And at some point, I think my parents said, "Okay, we're going to tell him these are the tools and weapons that they were killed with." And it was like really dramatic to me. Since then, it's like a really weird topic for me. And of course, now it is really it's discussed again. Although of course, it's not the same thing. But I think what makes this interesting and so full of fear is the idea that your opponent has no fear. I think that's what scares me. Like if the idea that there is someone out there that is not afraid of anything, like ultimately not afraid to die for a cause, and that's really scary, and that's why it's such a forceful weapon.
And well, you see, well, when I read Martyrs, the type of martyr I immediately think of is for instance, during Vietnam, the people that would set themselves on fire. So, which is again a different concept than now, because even those guys weren't afraid to give up their lives, but also they weren't attacking anybody in a way. So it's a different kind of fear.
It is, but exactly thinking of these pictures and the idea behind it completely gives me an absolute shiver.
And how do you shape that feeling then? Because you mentioned feeling and that mood. How do you shape that into a song then? How does that work?
Well,
how do you capture it?
Yeah. Well, that very topic is one that I always, probably since my childhood, had to get rid of somehow. So that was now my chance to sing about it, although it's probably not a pop music theme.
Right.
But I think what really interests me is like these really horrible Catholic martyr stories that are so like vile and brutal, like almost like, and these pictures, they look all like Cannibal Corpse covers or something like that, you know.
Sure.
So and the interesting fact is that these stories are, for the most part, made up. I mean, of course, there was Christians being killed and probably tortured, but not in these horrible ways. Actually, Christians came up with these stories as an example for how strong you can be, and that's, I think, a very important fact, that how big a role this martyrdom plays. I mean, the symbol of the Christian Church is a cross, which is basically a murder weapon. And that's I never really understood that in a way. So that's the line in the song. It makes you wonder who came up with all this shit.
But that's a very interesting line, because when you think about who came up with things, and this is also in the album, it's that alludes also to people using things or using fear to make people do something they want them to do.
Exactly. Yes.
So if you and this is that very famous Franklin Delano Roosevelt's quote, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So was that, where in the process did that come in, that kind of idea?
Also very early. In fact, it was first, for a short time, was my idea to use that as an album title, but then I thought, it was a bit too tacky. But I think that this quote fits very well in our time, because, as I said before, so many decisions and so many major things are being motivated by fear. And another famous saying, I don't know if that's international or it's German, it said that fear is like, what you call it, fear makes you make the wrong decisions, you know?
Right.
In a way. So I guess you can say that if people are afraid, they're not going to make a smart decision. They're most likely going to turn very, at the moment, like patriotic for some reason. They're going to be conservative, and they're going to be like very. They're going to shut everybody else out. They're going to lock themselves in. So
being afraid of change.
Yeah, and I think that's basically the problem of our time.
This is way too grandiose a question to kind of find an answer in here, but do you think there's a way to kind of combat that, to combat that culture of fear?
Combat.
To kind of what like I say, it's way too grandiose a question, but what would be an antidote in a way?
Well, if you think of the political stage, you either have, I guess, the one reaction to like a bad situation would be to come up with a idealistic solution to it, like with a vision, like a utopia. That's the one thing, and the other thing is the opposite, to say, okay, the situation is bad, we have to save what we have to save it from outside forces, we have to save it from everybody else. So at the moment it seems people tend definitely more to that side, to hold on to what they have and to protectionism and to all that. But I think the combat is to come up with better visions and to take fears seriously, but not use them, but trying to give other options.
And well, like you said, the album, you're now in a kind of in-between period. Have you performed some of the songs for people
No,
already?
not yet, no.
Because I wonder how people, well, maybe you wonder this as well, but how people will react, or how they react. So in your circle, when you showed them this music, this album, how did people react?
I think they were a bit overwhelmed in a way first, because it's very like quite a thing, because it's such an album, and not just like 10 songs that you can, okay, this one. It's more kind of a whole thing, but so I think it's definitely something you need to give it a bit of time, and I hope that people do. That's my only hope. It's not one that you can give like one skip through and then you get, okay, I get it, because then you probably won't like it. Because
aim is too big a word, but do you want people to, what do you want people to take away from the album after having listened to it carefully?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's that's the question. I don't think that there is any like a morale to the album. I don't want to. It's not my thing to come up with solutions. I don't think art should come up with a solution. Really, I don't know. Well, if in the end it does, maybe it's a good thing, but I don't think that should be the aim. The aim is to kind of trying to make sense of it in a way, but what you do with it, I don't know. But I wouldn't feel comfortable with saying, okay, I want people to have this idea in the end, because that would be manipulating as well, which is a bad thing.
Fair enough. Final question then, you mentioned this is going to be an album, and this is your first concept album. You said before that you like the idea of concept records. So is that beginning in this digital age and the speed of which it moves, is that kind of a lost art, do you think?
Not yet, and I am keeping up the battle for it. But I'm aware of that people listen to full albums more seldom than they used to, and that I don't know, at the moment the playlist is the medium of the hour. But yeah, as I said, I've not given up this battle yet, and I will fight it as long as as I can, because that's just what I grew up with. This is what I want to do. This for me is the art form, is the album, and not just a collection of songs, and not just a single that's good enough for some playlist. That's not the category I think in at the moment. Maybe this will change. Maybe it can be a challenge in the future. But I think yeah, I don't know. It's like an album is like going for the full movie or for the novel instead of for the series or the short story. You know, in a way.
Well, I wish you well in your fight.
Well, thank you.
Konstantin, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.